All right. And oh dear. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I really do. The fact we are here to talk about bloody censorship, right? If they're not making women awfully ugly, they're then going to extreme lengths to make sure that they are, purposely covered up or changed, trying to rewrite the narrative. Now, Stellar Blade has barely been out, and they already censored day one patch on covering up the bunny suit, which we'll get into in a little bit. Covering up the bunny suit, so that way it's not as sexy. I mean, listen, to be fair, I wouldn't be kicking out any two of these women on the right here, but we'll get into that. Don't worry about that, right? This post is here because of the gaslighting that's going on as well. Because now, a little bit of history. Back in the day, I was a big part of the console war stuff between PS3 and Xbox 360. I was on the PlayStation side. And back then, Japan was the center focus when it came to Japanese games. It was the center headquarters for Sony. And when they made the PS4, that's when they moved their headquarters to California. And that's when things started to change. That's when they snuck in, when the big controversy was happening with Xbox One about how you wouldn't be able to share your games or anything like that. Sony quietly snuck in on their PS Plus subscription that now you need to pay to play online, which was such a big selling point for the PS3 because you didn't ever have to pay a subscription fee to play the same games online versus your Xbox 360 counterparts. Now, Sony has been going from worst to worst to worst. We saw the censorship come in with things like Devil May Cry. I think they might have had a hand in some of the Hyper Neptunia series, maybe the Senran series, but they don't have a censorship issue when it comes to, well, pretty disgusting, degenerate sort of stuff. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is a fantastic game, don't get me wrong, but let's be honest, having sex with a bear? I mean, it sounds a little, you know what I'm saying, right? Not just that, we saw Abby get, 3 locomotives parked in her rear end in The Last of Us Part 2, right? And that's the problem, is that they do not want feminine women to be shown as feminine, as sexy, as being appealing. They are trying, this is what happens, now not to get a little bit too biblical, right? But this is what happens when you allow sin to fester, right? When you allow degeneracy to take root in society and things at large, things start to break down because it is not normal. It is not meant to be there, right? It is disgusting and is always being outcast because of the very simple fact of what it is, right? You're propping up the bad and destroying and lambasting the good. So it's not just the fact that they've censored this stuff as well, they've also censored the gore, okay? The actual, so they said, this is by Lewis CCS, they not only the outfits, but they censored blood as well. Why is it important? It's like censoring a Tarantino movie because it's bloody or offensive in some parts. Now, at the beginning of this trailer that you see playing in the background of this video, it's very interesting. Because at the very beginning it says rated M for mature. Now, why is it that a bunch of adults are deciding for another bunch of adults what we should play? What we can see, what we can consume, right? We're not porn addicts here. I mean, let's be honest, the same people that are screaming at us saying that we want to have attractive women in our video games are the very same people that were sitting there cheering for the gay bear sex scenes or whatever crap was going on in Baldur's Gate 3, the pretty sort of adult sex scenes, I think, that are in Cyberpunk 2077, and of course, The Last of Us Part 2, right? These are the very same people, and the reason why they hate it is because they hate themselves. It's very simple. They know that what they represent is not attractive, or who they are is not attractive. So then, rather than just letting bygones be bygones, they want to destroy and tear down everything else. This is the reason why, the absolute fundamental reason why you do not let this sort of thing occur in society. Now, we are going to jump over here to look at an article by Bounding into Comics to go further into the controversy when it comes to, what's really going on, and maybe Stellar Blade actually did this upon themselves and not Sony. I mean, let's be honest, Stellar Blade got a lot of attention for one reason.
Everybody's been real nice.
Well, that's because you have big jugs.
So, if we're looking at this article here by Bounding into Comics, right? This is the original rabbit suit, or the bunny suit. Okay, this is how it looked. This was on day one. This is when you got the disc home, right? Or say maybe I don't know 100% if the digital version got patched immediately. I'm pretty sure it did, but the disc version, right? You can have this, okay? You can actually have this. Now, what they changed it to is this, right? So what they did is that they put in a little lace thing here to take away the cleavage. Look at the difference, right? There is a massive difference that they're doing here. And not to mention that they also lowered the V-cut, right, of the suit down further. Okay. Now, it says here, unsurprisingly, upon its discovery, this bit of stealth censorship promoted outrage from excited players, many of them feeling particularly betrayed because given developer Shift Up's previous promise that the game would release uncensored. You understand that, right? So the very company that stated that they wouldn't release this stuff, in any censorship whatsoever, they've actually done it. To this end, one fan sought to take the issue directly to Kim himself. Stellar Blade here offers the same uncensored version in all countries, including the Japanese version. Stellar Blade offers the same... Oh yeah, he said it again. Right. Now, in a translated video shared on the Reddit subreddit for Stellar Blade during the April 26th launch event for the highly anticipated action title, Kim was asked by an attendee if there had been any thinking of rolling back to the version before censorship. In turn, the director affirmed, understandably, we also recognize this issue. However, the final costume that we wanted to show you is indeed the costume in version 1.0.0.2. But that's just bullshit. Right? Because what comes before 1.0.0.2 is 1.0.0.0. That is the release game. Okay? It's not a beta. It's not a 0.1 or a 0.9 or a 0.75, some early access title. Their initial release is, and always is, when you release a game to the public that is not stated to be early access, is always 1.0. The fact that we have a 0.2 at the end of it indicates that this is now a post-decision that they have done. I want to clarify that is our final product, he added. However, I know this answer is not enough to convince our users. No, it's not. And the reason why it's not is because you're lying. But I have a feeling they're also running defense for Sony. Because Sony now absolutely and unequivocally has a history here of censorship. Because as soon as they moved from Japan to California for their main headquarters, it has been just rife with this sort of shit ever since, right? And the fact that, and this is the interesting part, and I need you to take very careful consideration to this game was sold with this, right? Why was it sold with that? Why did they leave with no censorship? You don't actually have that on the disc if that was not your original intent. Are you telling me that the entire development team, right, was so strapped for time that they just, oh shit, yeah, that's right, yeah, no, we're gonna have to just patch that, just only that, and reduce the gore, right? Because they did that as well. They reduced the blood in this game too, right? Also, the meltdown over the hard R thing, which is hilarious considering that, It shows you how certain people are so self-centered, thinking that they are the main hero of the whole world, right? That it had nothing to do with racism whatsoever. It was just like, what was that NASCAR incident where they had like the garage, you know, door pulleys, right? And this NASCAR driver of a certain background decided to make a massive issue out of it, thinking it was looking like nooses, and it wasn't. It was just the pulleys to pull down the garage door. This is what happens when you've been indoctrinated and lied to, and you know, being made to be the perpetual victim constantly, right? Also, as I already mentioned, the reduced blood and gore effects. So what this does, I'm very happy to see the this being reported. I'm very happy to see that people are calling this crap out, because it's not going to stand, right? It's not going to stand. It is not good, because at the end of the day, right, this sort of thing should never ever be allowed to happen. We are paying for a game. We are mature gamers. Why are you behaving in this fashion? Right? Why? It's not necessary. We're adults. Or as a quote that I had back in the day when it came to the banning of Mortal Kombat in Australia, I said, we're tough here, give us our games. Anyway, guys, catch you next time.